So if there's more than one way to skin a cat, there's definitely more than one way to make paneer. Most people know palak paneer, you know, if you're not of Indian descent and you go to Indian restaurants. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a really Kashmiri Pandit style of CHAAMAN, a little different to the one that I've made before on the channel, which also is Kashmiri Pandit because it was my dad and mummy's recipe. Where's my knife? This has a little bit of a different cooking method and so a different end result. So traditionally this CHAAMAN, this dish is made with potato, but I don't want to make it with potato, so I'm just going to make it with the CHAAMAN itself. So I made this CHAAMAN earlier today using a local milk, which is a local very small production, and I'm making a separate video on that milk and sort of the beauty of using beautiful produce. But it's hung for a few hours, and because the milk is of such a high quality and doesn't have a super high water content essentially, or like it's, I don't know if I should even say that because what do I know about milk and water content, but the appearance of the milk is that it sets much quicker when I hang it for this milk. So it's more beautiful taste, it's faster to set, and it produces more CHAAMAN from the same amount of milk volume. So win, 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 win as far as I'm concerned. So what I'm going to do is cut these into sort of largish pieces and fry them. Maybe that's a bit large. Fry them in a little bit of vegetable oil. The other paneer I cook in its own way. With this one I cook it in yogurt and milk. All right, so that's it. So I'll put the link in the video for the cooking of the paneer process as well, so you can see that if you need it. But I actually do have a separate video on how to make paneer. There's another paneer video with the whole process. For this one, I'm just trying to expedite a little bit, so those of you that are familiar with me don't need to watch the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm just going to put the oil into heat. While I'm waiting for the oil to heat, I'm just going to assemble the spices. So again, very Kashmiri palette. Aniseed powder, salt, turmeric, ginger powder, badi elaichi or black cardamom, asafoetida or hing, and actually I'm going to change the salt and make it not a pink salt but a white salt, and I'll explain why when we go to cook it. And then there's a little bit of milk and yogurt added, so I might just whisk that now. Oh, I don't know if I've got enough yogurt, let's see. Should be fine. So it's 3 tablespoons of milk roundabout and 3 tablespoons of yogurt. And that's just going to get whisked together. In fact, I think I underestimated the vessel. So whisking milk and yogurt does do something different to stirring milk and yogurt. When you whisk yogurt and whisk a liquid through it, even one like milk, which has a high fat content, you bring forward, you're sort of breaking apart the yogurt and it draws forward the acidity in the yogurt. Just a little. Now, if you know this spice palette at all, well, I can help you to understand this spice palette, is probably a better way of putting it, is that you can see that, or I can see that it's earthy and pungent and strong. So strong salt, black cardamom is strong smoke, ginger powder is quite strong in terms of a warm category spice and its heat. Asafoetida has a strong sulfur, and fennel powder has a strong density. And so to counterbalance that, the acidity in the milk and the yogurt is going to bring a little bit of contrast, which is really important for creating beautiful flavour, is difference, and also contrast and a bit of a light touch. So it won't lighten the spice because we don't really want to lighten the spice, but it will provide a slightly lighter touch and also feed back into the paneer again, because the paneer is dairy. So there's a nice circular quality to the use of this as well. Okay, I think the oil's going to be hot. So one of the things that we always do with paneer is when we fry it, not to put it on paper towel, but to put it straight into water, and that lifts some of the oil off the cheese. That's smoky. Let's go across here. So it's actually a bit hot. Ooh, turn it down a little bit. Using this milk is so impactful, this type of milk, this cheeky cow milk, because the paneer holds together really beautifully. It has a totally different density of texture as a raw product. It never breaks apart when it's frying. Move this away. Huh? There's a frying pan. So I want to bring the spice over because the process of this is quite quick. Okay. So this is cooking. Make sure it's not hot. This is going to cook in water, not ghee. So what I'm going to do is pop the paneer in. That is a cup of water on a relatively high heat. We're going to get that boiling up. So once it's starting to cook. So, okay, so I spoke to you earlier about the reason I changed salts from a pink salt to a white salt. Is that the white salt has a little bit more drive and aggression than the pink salt, and normally I cook paneer in ghee and whey and it's very soft and very cuddly. This is not cooked in ghee and whey, it's cooked in water. which is going to create a different sort of aromatic structure in there, and I want my salt and that base structure to be on the same communicable level. So harder base structure, harder salt, and what that means is the marriage of flavour up from that foundation is going to be stronger because my base flavours are aligned. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt, and a little more actually, white salt in there, a teaspoon of turmeric. Oh, look at that, so beautiful. Teaspoon of ginger powder. 2 teaspoons of aniseed powder. A little bit of hing. Asafoetida, so the water. You can see if I do it this way. If you had the powder, you'd put, 1 or 2 pinches. And then a couple of the black cardamom. So I'd say 2, I think. 3 is going to be too much. Spice also carries more strongly through water than it does through fat. So a spice like black cardamom, which has so much smoke, I'm going to use a bit less of it in this scenario. I just want to keep that bubbling away for a while. It's instantly incredible. And it's quite festive too, like that turmeric yellow, so pretty. Oh, I'm so happy with this one. Ooh. It's so earthy. That's incredible. It's super interesting as a contrast because the water doesn't have the viscosity of a fat like ghee, but the earthy spice almost speaks more strongly because of that. So you've got this incredible contrast between lightness of weight in terms of the carriage that we're using, which is water, and then the heft of the spice itself. So really, really beautiful, interesting, unique flavour profiles. And I think when you talk about regional Indian cuisine, it's those little twists that speak to specificity of place, is that unique, the fennel, the ginger, the black cardamom, water, paneer, like it's very much Kashmiri food. And I can taste the landscape in it. It's pretty outrageous. This is cooked down to actually a little more than half. Oh, so rich and delicious. At this point, we're going to add the milk and yogurt mix. Which you can see is instantly going to soften the spice. I'm going to cook that down a little bit. Notice that I'm not moving it too much. I don't want to break the paneer. Well, when you have the right heat on the scale of temperature for the produce that you're cooking and the liquid that you have in the pan, you don't actually have to stir incessantly, especially with something as delicate as paneer. You can, leave it sit for a bit. Okay, so this is going to cook off for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to finish with a little touch of ghee. There's the ghee, says Trav. And some clove and cardamom. So I'm going to grab those spices back. So you basically just want to crush a couple of cloves and a couple of pods of green cardamom. So I'll do 3 each. Just pop them in my little patented Oh, they're popping out. Spice crusher. And then, just to finish, tablespoons of ghee on top. Just turn it down a fraction because I can feel it starting to stick. So always, 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 you know, follow your instinct. Listen to me and then do what works. Everyone's heat works slightly differently. Everyone's pans conduct heat differently. Like there's so many variables when it comes to cooking. Break him apart. Oh, look, see in there? Look how creamy. So delicious. Yum, yum, yum. Taste test. Okay, I love this so much for multiple reasons. One is this method of cooking highlights the paneer's produce. So, and because it's such beautiful paneer made with beautiful milk, it's like even squeaky between teeth and creamy. It's not overtly rich, which is really beautiful. I think we're so used to the idea of, you know, of those sort of restaurant dishes where they're really laden with that feeling of weight. And this, because it's cooked in water, the paneer actually feels fluffy, and the spice is not, there's a lot of structural space in between the spice. So when you use, we only use 5 or 6 different spices in there instead of like 12, or, you know, sometimes I'll use up to 15 when I'm having fun. And the less spice you use, the more room you're giving for each aromatic to breathe. So there's a sense of spaciousness in the food, especially when you're driving those aromatics through water and then finishing them with a rich fat. Remember at the start I said the foundation of the dish matters a lot. What you finish with is kind of the cream. So yes, there's a bit of ghee, yes, there's a bit of milk and yogurt, but it's not built into the fundamental structure of the dish. So the experience of the cream or of the yogurt and the milk and the ghee is a polished finish as opposed to a heavy weight at the bottom. So yeah, anyway, in terms of light paneer flavour that speaks of like heritage and tradition, to me this is pretty much number one. Oh my God, it's so good. The flies love it too.